Welcome back, everyone, to the Abundance Formula podcast. Hope you guys all had a great Mother's Day and are hanging on tight as school's coming to a close and all of the field trips and all the things are happening. We just had a field trip today and pajama day the other day, teacher appreciation. You're trying to keep track of all of it, right? And if you've got two kids, like one kid is out of school, but the other one's not yet. So it's kind of the phase that we're in. Malia's the last one still in school, but she'll be out on this Thursday. So we're hanging on tight just at the end of the year. For me, summer's easier personally. Less driving since Malia's school is like 40 minutes from the house. So especially on my work from home days, that's just an extra 2 hours of driving because I have to go take her there, come back home, do work, go pick her up again, come back. So it's like 2 hours of driving. I will be saved twice a week. So I'm looking forward to that and just being able to relax. And we went to the lake over the weekend, and that was so much fun. We've been blowing up our bouncy house, the water bouncy house, and just feels like summer. It already feels like summer. So I'm excited for it to be summer and the kids to be able to sleep in. And I feel like we get more free time in the summer as opposed to I know some parents are like, as soon as it's summer, they're like, oh, I'm stuck at home with the kids or something. For me, summer's easier personally. So I'm super looking forward to it. But for today's solo episode, I want to talk to you guys about leaving white space for God to work. So, if you've been following this podcast for a while, or if you follow me on social media, you know that I'm in the middle currently of a rebrand and that I'm about to be launching this new product that for our business that I've been working on for months now. And I've started kind of the shift of my content and the way my stories are. And the podcast has pretty much always been the same because really what I'm shifting to, if you don't know, is I've always worked as a practitioner in prosthetics and orthotics, and I'm still doing that part time. But then I've also always, with my husband, run our personal training business that we both have had for over 15 years. We had individual businesses and then we got personal training businesses. And then when we got married, we blended them together, of course. And then we've had that for 12 years. And so, my husband was even doing it longer before. But now I'm personally, not necessarily him, but I'm personally shifting into creating the new service of life coaching. And I want to personally start spending the majority of my time there and phase into only doing that eventually. I still currently have some long-term, lifetime training clients who I absolutely love and have been long, faithful, true, keeping them, but looking to not add new personal training clients, but shift into only taking on life coaching clients. High performance and identity coaching is what I'm shifting into. So this is about to launch very soon. Just need to finish building the website and then the buy button will be ready. And I'm very excited about it. And for those of you who have followed me for a long time, this makes sense because, especially if you've ever worked with me, I figured out both in my practitioner job and the work that I do there, and then in training and people's fitness journeys, to get where people want to go, if they're not getting where they want to go, there's an internal block. And so what I have ended up doing while training them is we end up doing this life coaching stuff, like figuring out what's actually the root cause, the root limiting belief, the root trigger for why self-sabotage happens. Like what's the actual problem? And it's never anything to do with the actual fitness journey. It's always something else, something that occurred way back in childhood, and we have to go back and redeem memories. And so this is a practice I've been doing for a very long time, on top of all the other things. But I really want to just shift my focus to there because that's what's super fulfilling to me and incredible. And I love just being able to be part of this kind of miracle process that happens in people when they finally actually solve the real problem. And that's what's rewarding to watch is whenever we get to that, then people are free to perform at their highest level. In anything they're going to do. If they had been having marriage problems, if they were having career problems, if they were just feeling stuck and they couldn't figure out what was wrong, right? When we solve the internal issue at the root or issues at the root, there's usually a few and we'll get to those, then everything else falls into place without them even trying. It's a ripple effect, and all these other things that aren't going right for them in life are just symptoms of a deeper rooted problem. And so that's what I'm really passionate about now and what the next season of life is going to look like. So all of that to say, that's just catching anyone up who's new here. So I'm rebranding. So especially on social media, people just mainly have seen my fitness stuff. I'm a 5-time national athlete. And so they just have understood that I do fitness and recipes, right? So my content was very much family, fitness, faith, that kind of thing. So now I've had to shift it gradually into being strictly more just personal development content around perspective shifts, identity, belief systems, coaching, growth, expansion, like the just different topics. And I'm not posting the fitness stuff anymore, which has been a shock to a lot of people. I think I lost like over the last 2 weeks, maybe 900 followers. And that can be scary when you're in a business. And I had built my social media to like 12,000 followers on just Instagram, and then I have more on Facebook as well. And then email lists, right? So then it can be easy to want to panic and be like, oh my gosh, I mean, I'm following a process, but at the same time, it can make you want to question the calling that you've felt drawn to on your heart. And for me, it's been extremely clear. God's been wanting me to do this for years, and I finally just decided to step into it. It was more painful to stay still where I was stagnant than to just expand. So that's why I finally am just going for it. But I know I'm supposed to be doing this work, but that doesn't change that it can be scary to be in a new phase that feels uncertain and stuff is changing. And so it's a process where my current followers, some of them are going to continue to stay and go deeper with me, and some will fall off that strictly just were following for recipes, fitness, motivation, that kind of stuff. And then people that are new that I'm going to attract. And so it can be scary though to think, okay, I need to get even more detailed and technical on um, learning everything there is to know about branding, learning everything there is to know about marketing and sales, and create a solid business plan on how this is supposed to grow and project in the sales and all that stuff. But in my prayers, what I has been just made completely clear to me. I have always been a very type A, assertive, control person, perfectionist. And God is calling me into a season on purpose where He wants me to leave Him white space. Because the reality is, there's a reason that in scripture it says He can do abundantly beyond what we could ever ask or imagine. It's because humanity has a capped potential. We have a capped, even at our best, level of creativity that we can achieve, problem solving that we can do. And if we would finally release control and leave space for God to actually be creative, He is the creator, our minds would be blown. And so that's what has been made really clear with me in this process is I want to plan and have research. I mean, I've done so much research, but to truly have a locked in plan of like the business plan and all that stuff. But God's kind of told me, no, like, listen, the business plan is obedience. Like, we're clear on the inside, and more clarity will just come as to how to communicate the mission outside to others, right? But He wants me to let go of control and to let go of the common formula for how things should be done in business and in the way things move. And so it can be really hard when you're in a phase of uncertainty or you want to try to create as much certainty as you can. But the reality is, I'm called in this season to surrender the creative process to Him. And my mission is merely to ask Him what's next. So I'm asking Him, what do you want me to know? And what do you want me to do next? And He gives me instruction. And it comes in so many different ways. I have so many crazy, miraculous stories that I will share at some point on the podcast. But He'll give you the answers when He's ready for you to have them. So far for me, He doesn't just give me the next 10 steps. He's going to give me the next one step. And it's a faith journey to expand and hold that level of space and faith for Him to work. And then He does. The results come back so much more than what I could have even thought, and takes me a whole different direction that was better than I would have actually planned myself, which gives me additional confidence to say, okay, what's next now, Lord? Like, what do you have next? Or a new problem comes up, like, all right, Lord, how do you want to address this one? What do you want me to know about this? What do you want me to do? And another good question that I love asking that I think gives you a lot of revelation is just saying, what are you inviting me into? That's the question that the response He gave me was, I'm inviting you into a season of embracing the mystery. Like normally I want to get out of mystery very quickly. I love to read and watch mystery. I don't want anything with me to be a mystery. I want to know what's coming. I want to know what's happening. I want to be prepared, and I want it to be as best as it can go the first time. That's the perfectionistic side, the OCD side. And he's like, that's not the season. That's not what I'm inviting you into. I never invited you into that. That's just something you as a human thought you needed to do to get good results. But really, if you would embrace mystery and quote unquote uncertainty and approach it with actual like curiosity. Hey Lord, what are you going to do with this? Get excited like you're watching because the movie of your life is going to be incredible. You're going to have some incredible stories to tell. That's what's cool about any kind of miraculous story in the Bible or whatever. Is like you're on the edge of your seat wanting to know what's next. It's a lot harder to be the Moses and you're like, "All right, Lord, we're up at the ocean and the Pharaoh's behind us. What are we going to do now?" Right? And then thank goodness and God's like part the Red Sea and walk through it, which sounds insane. But then sure enough, you just obey and do what he said to do. And then it happens. And like now you have all these incredible stories. Like that stuff still happens today, you guys. And I've already got some crazy stories. And there's already more I know are coming based on what God's told me to do. And it's a very interesting thing how that looks in the form of business or in transformation to create in others and in yourself. But I'm telling you, when you relinquish that control and you leave him white space, and your mission becomes not to send up a bunch of prayer requests of what you think you need. See, that's the other thing that's also become clear to me is we actually don't know what we need. Like, I don't know how we learned this in church growing up that like you pray, like God already knows what you need, number one. So you don't actually need to tell him what you want, but he does say to ask and you shall receive, right, in the Bible. But it's okay to tell him how you're feeling, even though he already knows. Just get it off your chest. But we make too much of our prayer time that time, telling him what we need and what we want and how we're feeling. And we don't ever listen. And we don't ever just say, what do I need? Because we don't actually know. What we're praying for, like with all of our hearts, could be something that's totally and completely limiting our potential or would totally and completely hurt us and help us not reach our full potential. It's not actually what we need, but we don't know that. And again, God has never been a God of formula and on purpose. Like he didn't heal the blind in the same way. Like he purposefully does not want to be confined to a specific structure. And that's because he's a creator. And so embrace the journey of mystery because now that means he can do some incredible stuff. And also, along with that, pray for the courage to do what he says to do when he says to do it. Because I'm telling you again, when I share some of these stories with you, it's going to be wild. It's going to be weird. It's going to seem totally out of left field. But if you read in the Bible, I mean, that's his style. That's what he does. And it's because it makes for incredible stories that ricochet into this incredible ripple effect that changes so many people's lives because it's so insane. And yet when it's real and it's happened to somebody, it's a real testimony. People are like, oh my word, like I want to live that kind of life. How do I do that? Right. So, but it's scary, but it's also empowering and it's also revealing and it's expansive and it's growth. And there's so much reward in that, but it is scary. So you also, at the same time as you're praying in this process, like, what do you want me to do? Or no, what do you want me to do? What are you inviting me into? Give me the courage to do what you tell me, because it is not always going to make sense. Sometimes it might, but most of the time it won't make sense. And although it will scare you, you'll still have this internal peace though. Like you'll be uncomfortable, but it won't feel misaligned. And there's a difference between when people want to talk about alignment and all that stuff. I feel like the thing with the whole alignment topic is just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean you're not walking in alignment. To me, alignment is real. With your intuitive, with the Holy Spirit, what God's told you to do, you know when you're in alignment and you're following what he's told you to do, because despite being scared and super uncomfortable, there is this internal knowing or this internal peace. It doesn't mean you have to like the challenge part of the process, but he's inviting us into actually enjoying the challenge. And so when you get through this challenge, it will be better on the other side, but that doesn't mean it's going to feel good going through it. So there's a difference between when you're pushing through something that does not feel good, and you may not know the final outcome, but it does feel right to your soul, versus something that when you are actually misaligned and you're pursuing something that really isn't in alignment, you know that, like on an internal, intuitive, spiritual level. And if you're pursuing forward, you know it's not right. And also at the same time, things aren't working out well. So being in alignment doesn't mean everything is going wonderfully and feels good. It's more about this intuitive peace and spiritual knowing that you're on the right path, whether it looks awful, whether you can't see ahead, whether you don't know what to do next. None of that means you are not in alignment. So, um, don't divert the path just because you get very uncomfortable. Because I promise, as you get used to this type of listening prayer process, you're going to be very uncomfortable. You're going to be expanding beyond the box that you've placed yourself in. And it's both exhilarating and super scary, but just along with those prayers, pray for the courage to do what he says. And God's imagination will blow y'all's mind. It really will. But this is how he intends to bring about incredible results and incredible stories that we then share that are the thing that transforms other people's lives and makes our life that much more impactful. So this rebrand has been scary. And as much as I'm planning details at the same time, you know, I haven't tried to plan the way that I would or break down some literal hard copy of a business plan, which can freak people out around you who you're like, hey, will you help me do this? You know, this is where I'm going. And they're like, but what's the actual business plan? Like, I don't see how this is actually going to work. And I'm like, I get it. Trust me, I know I'm tempted to spend some time like writing out a really detailed business plan, but that's not what God invited me to do. Unfortunately, like would love to do it. But God said no. God said, I'm actually not inviting you to write a business plan for this one. I'm inviting you to, yes, on an internal level, map this out with me, but also we're leaving a lot of white space because I also think God wants you to leave white space sometimes and him not tell you every aspect of the path until you arrive at each next step because I think it would just scare us and we'd want to we'd be like, whoa, that is too big for me. Like, what? You think I can do that? And we might chicken out. So I think some of the reason he only tells you the next best step at a time is for that reason, because he knows us. He already knows us. So he knows how much he can push at a time that we won't chicken out, right? He challenges us just enough that we can rise to the occasion. And that then brings more confidence, but not so much that like we're just going to keel out because we need some help, right? So relinquishing these fears and control is tough, but just keep asking him what he knows you need to supply the need and what he wants you to know about what you think you need. I think I need the money to do this. What do you want me to know actually about that? And what do you want me to do? What are you inviting me into? And then leave quiet space to see what he says. So just remember, God's never been interested in being conventional. So he's purposely not confined to formula. He loves to be creative and make incredible stories. So hang on tight, buckle up, but I promise you that your life will be 10 times more exciting. Your stories will be 10 times more impactful, and your business or your relationships or whatever it is that you're moving into next is going to be abundantly beyond what you could ever ask or imagine. So do not rush to escape the mystery. Approach it with curiosity and even humor. All right, Lord, this is crazy. What are you gonna do with this? What's the crazy next step? You know, and bring humor and see what God does. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Let me know if you start to implement any of this into your life, into any of the areas that have felt super uncertain and scary. And your natural tendency would be to try to scrounge up every ounce of control and plan everything, every I dotted, every T crossed, and try to like cover yourself in certainty. Let me know if you try this where you leave God some white space. I'm excited to hear what goes on. So hope you all have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you on the next one.